Good morning and good afternoon again. My name is Jack Fitzmyer. I serve as the Executive Director of the American Academy of Religion. And I'm delighted to welcome all of you to this video conference, which is entitled New Scientific Approaches to the Study of Religious Experience. So given the costs of convening groups at particular venues, and given the advances in technology, it has seemed to me for some time that scholarly societies like ours ought to be experimenting with the use of video conferencing. I find this notion kind of compelling for financial reasons, obviously, but for scholarly considerations as well. Our organization is committed to providing scholars of religion as many opportunities as possible to advance their research and to collaborate with their peers. If video conferencing can enlarge our capacity to convene, so much the better.
Thanks very much, Jack. I am Bob McCauley, the director of the Center for Mind, Brain, and Culture at Emory University. The CMBC has organized this conference in cooperation with the Department of Religion here at Emory and with the Institute of Cognitive and Evolutionary Anthropology and the School of Anthropology and Museum Ethnography at the University of Oxford. This video conference is an initial experiment at conducting a standard academic conference comprising 2 sessions between speakers, commentators, and audiences from 2 locations, and which in this case involves interactions across multiple disciplines, religion and anthropology, and across the Atlantic Ocean.
As the results of this research gain increasing attention, both in the academic world and also in the mass media, the American Academy of Religion is keeping pace, having first hosted a panel on the cognitive science of religion at its most recent annual conference in Chicago, and uniquely today through its sponsorship of this experimental video conference. I hope the discussions here in Oxford and back in Atlanta will be viewed with considerable interest by our colleagues right across the association, and that this event will help further debates initiated at the annual conference last year. So thank you all, and it's back to our colleagues at Emory, I think, to get us underway.
I have carried out some ethnographic work with a group of Afro-Brazilian religionists. The majority of my friends in the field claim to have regular and remarkably direct encounters with transcendent realities and unions with the divine. Here's how one of them described his first such experience. I started to become unconscious. When a person wakes up, they feel kind of disoriented. I started to feel like that. At a certain point, I started switching off. And then the moment arrived at which I switched off completely, and I don't remember anything more. Then I woke up. Now ask yourself, what makes this experience specifically religious? What is religious about becoming unconscious? I do it every night, and even some afternoons when I get a chance. I've been knocked unconscious on the squash court, but I was never once tempted to call that experience religious. So he says, I started to become unconscious, I switched off, I don't remember anything, and then I woke up. It's not the most gripping of narratives.
I recently became interested in cognitive science of religion research for one chief reason. It offered compelling resources to consider novel approaches to the study of African continental and African Atlantic religions. CSR actually provided some of the ammunition needed to confront the historical and residual problems so-called savage thinkers have posed for scholars of religion. Most disconcerting for me was how religious taxonomies that emerged from guiding assumptions about the mental capacities of savage and civilized societies in the history of religion's canon encourage flawed and inadequate theoretical treatments of African religious cultures, especially their so-called animist, magical, and superstitious features.
I don't know about your specific fieldwork, but cross-culturally in many just ethnographic descriptions of possession experiences, the possessee does take on abnormal physical qualities as well as the abnormal kind of mental state. Things like pain tolerance, feats of strength and dexterity, excessive alcohol consumption, way beyond the tolerance of the actual physical individual. If the displacement model that you posit through this control experiment holds cross-culturally. How do you explain this? Or is this some Cartesian legacy that your British and Irish students are holding on to that may not apply in other cultural contexts?
Thank you. That's an excellent point, actually, and I think that our experiment and the way it was set up possibly assumed a little bit of a Cartesian split in a way, because it's, well, in some way we decided what was mind and what was body in advance.
The one way of thinking about this issue, or at least the way I articulate it for myself, is really the question of what does experience do to the mind and body? What is the more specifically, what does the phenomenal feel of a religious experience do? Is it crucial to understanding how it can have a profound impact on the human organism? And what I mean by phenomenal feel here is this sense of what it's like. I'm specifically referring to the notion in phenomenology that there are background aspects of experience that are crucial to the different modalities of experience, and that these different modalities of experience expressed through the background are especially important in the context of religious experience. And when I speak about impact on the human organism, I mean both mind and body. In this context also, recently I've come to believe that affect and not belief may be of particular importance in understanding this notion of impact. In other words, it's not the contents of our cognitive experiences, but the affective way in which they are presented, which may be especially relevant for understanding religious experience.
Cognitive approaches to the study of religion arose out of the conviction that, as the cognitive and psychological sciences have matured over the past 50 years, an opportunity has been created to import insights, and sometimes the methods, from the cognitive sciences to help address problems in the study of religion. After all, when we concern ourselves with the nature of religious thoughts, attitudes, behaviors, rituals, socio-political organizations, and the like, we're focusing on human phenomena, at many points modulated and mediated by human information processing systems, that is, cognition. Consequently, some questions in the study of religion will be usefully informed by what we know about the cognitive sciences. The label Cognitive Science of Religion, or CSR, from my perspective, captures the scholarly projects that put characteristic features of human cognitive systems in a central place when trying to causally explain religious phenomena. In this sense, CSR is more of a research orientation than a genuine discipline or subfield.
So I'm wondering then that if the claim is that the actual conscious phenomenological experience that goes on in a meditative state or in any religious emotional experience, are we saying, how can we differentiate the notion that that is the cause of the transformation versus some sort of much more standard computational argument that our emotional systems respond to these stimuli in certain ways and trigger memory in these ways and trigger pro-sociality or anti-sociality in these ways, that to where consciousness never really comes into the equation? How would we tell the difference, and how would we go about doing that?
Well, I think you tell experimentally. I think you would tell the difference experimentally, which is that you'd have to have an experimental design that would take account of that possibility. And you would actually try to create situations, for example, experimentally, in which that would involve perhaps deception, in which the subject believes a particular story that is given,